quick intro and we'll get going.
Okay.
Okay, I am Chris Avina with American Outdoor News. Welcome to another episode of the American Outdoor News podcast. If you have not subscribed, now is the time. Today we are here with Robin Zimmer, the owner of Pheasant Cove Outfitters. Robin, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Chris, for having me.
Well, before we get started, I will let you know that Robin is the name of my son's mother, uh,
Oh,
my
so
ex.
funny story because you have the first name of my ex.
Oh, how about that?
Small world.
So you are the new, well, I don't want to say new owner because you have a generational business at Pheasant Cove, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So my parents started hunting back in the 90s, actually. I mean, my dad, he hunted his whole life. Um, and then because crop prices were bad, they needed to make some money in order to pay the taxes to keep the land, the farm, whatever. And so dad started bringing in hunters and charging them to pheasant hunt. And I mean, again, back in the 90s, this was before this was really even heard of in the state. And that's kind of how it started. So we've been doing this. I think this was our 32nd season, 2024. So I think this is 33 this year. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So my parents started it. It started off just they would find a hotel for these hunters. They'd come in, and my parents have always loved to cook. So let's grill, let's do this, let's take guys hunting. And then one year they decided to buy the convenience store repair shop in Glenham. And my family is also builders, my grandpa, uncle, dad. And so they turned this repair shop into what is now the lodge.
Oh,
And then they started hunting, built up a business. My father passed away almost 7 years ago, and my mom needed help. My uncle started guiding for her. I was living overseas at the time. Came back. Well, I stayed that first fall in 18 to help her just cook and clean and do all that. And I'd walk the fields with my uncle. And after a couple of years, I decided to buy the lodge. I ended up being the guide. After a few years, my uncle quit, and so my mom um, asked me if I would guide. So I took that over, and then a couple of years ago, my son was deciding whether or not he should get out of the army. He's always wanted to do the hunting, and so I told him, if you get out, we can run the lodge. So that's a very quick, short, condensed version of how we got to this place.
well, to me, a hunt is a hunt. Some you're going to be successful, some you're not. It don't matter if you're with a guide or not. It's hunting.
Right.
Um, what I found that makes you just keep coming back to the same place is the atmosphere, the lodge, how you treated, the food, the just the vibe of the place. And it sounds like you really have kicked it up a notch and you've kept the old crew coming back and you keep expanding now.
Yeah, so that was one thing my mom and dad were really good at. Even more than hunting, they were entertainers. And like I said, they loved to cook. But my dad, he was always, I mean, he was up on politics, just current events, everything. So people were kind of afraid after he died that that tone, I guess, would go away. They would miss Marvin, and that would be the end of the lodge. But it was that. I mean, he was half of it. My mom in her cooking, and my mom knows a lot about history, and she has some great family history. And so these guys just became their friends and keep coming back. I'm actually headed to a memorial service next week in Texas for a guy that has been here every year except for year number one. And
Wow.
um, we have a lot of repeat customers. I mean, that have been coming 20, 30 years. And a lot of it is due to mom and dad just being great hosts and, just truly showing them that this is what this life is about and come join us. Another friend, we can always use another friend. And that's what they
Yeah.
did.
You know, going on a hunt for an outdoorsman, it's a vacation as well. You're not, well, I'm going hunting. You're going on vacation. You
Right.
want to have a good time. You want to enjoy the people you're hunting with and the lodge that you're staying at. That's all a part of it. And it sounds like you're keeping that up and keeping up that tradition. That's a wonderful thing to begin with.
Yeah, and if we get guys that it's their first year and they join a hunt, because how the lodge is, we have 5 rooms. Four of the rooms have 4 beds in it, and the other room, room number 5, has 6 beds in it. And so, some of these guys, they get mixed in with guys they've never met. Like our big group that comes on opening weekend, they're like 5 different groups that
Mhm.
didn't know each other before, but now they've all become friends. What's your number? Let's keep in touch during the year. And it's just that friendship that they gain. It might be hunting, but they found lifelong friends that they keep in touch with long
Yeah.
after hunting is over.
Yeah, you keep in touch and you want to coordinate the same week because you had such a good time with that group. You want to make sure that it continues. And I found that as well. I guide as well sometimes. And yeah, you see the same people come back year after year, and they're not just clients, they're friends.
Right, right. And some of the stories are just fascinating. I have this one guy that comes. He's actually one of my favorite people in the world. He survived World Trade Center.
Well, all
He
right.
survived sarcoma, and he's just fascinating to talk to. Like his outlook on life is just amazing. And so you meet people like that, and it's just, to me, that's the best part of the job. The hunting is great, but just meeting the people and talking with them and joking around with them, that's the best.
Yep. Now, you're doing this a while. What type of terrain um, is your lodge? Is it hilly? Is
It's
it
mostly plain.
flatland?
Yeah, plains. We don't have a lot of hills. My brother, who does all our planting for us and food plots, some of the land that he rents will have some hills in it, but it's not. I mean, you're getting a workout mostly because you're actually getting out and walking for three
Yeah.
days straight, but it's not very hilly at all.
Does the different terrains affect the way you hunt the pheasant?
Not not really. We usually just hunt with, like, we have our line, our walkers, and that's usually me or Teddy with the dogs, and then we have our flankers, and then we always have the blockers at the end. There's one part that we will hunt that has a creek, and it's mostly, well, he does have a food plot by it, but it's mostly like cattle pasture, and so there's some hills there, but we still hunt it the same. It's a wild bird area, so a lot of birds get away because it's also quite big. So even if we had 20 people, it's still hard to get around them.
Ah,
And with wild birds, they're just really skittish. So you make one noise, and if you don't get them cut off, they're gone.
off they go.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it just depends, or just depends. Most of it's flat land, farmland. So.
How does weather play a role? The wind, the snow, how does that play a role in how you're gonna take somebody out? How to make them have a successful hunt?
Well, we pretty much hunt in any weather. Hopefully, the guys come prepared because we can have snow in September, or we can have, like this last year, we had 80 degrees on opening day.
Wow.
So that, is really warm, and we have to be really careful for the dogs and stuff. But we will take them out in rain. We hunted in pouring rain this last year. Um, there was one time there was snow, and it was September, and the crops were still up, and so like the grass was still quite tall. It hadn't bent over yet from the wind and whatnot, and this layer of snow was just on top of it, and I was breaking through it at my waist while the birds were running underneath the snow. And so it just depends. And if hunters don't want to go out, which is very rare. I mean, if you get an ice storm, we might have some guys that say, you know what, how about let's just wait and do it later in the day if the weather looks or better then. Um, Before opening weekend, so since we have a preserve, we can hunt from September 1st to March 31st on the preserve. And if we have hunters then, we'll usually watch the weather and we can go out at 8 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
and get the hunting done before it gets too hot for the dogs. So it just depends. It's probably the only time of the year that I really watch the weather, um, just to make sure we can optimize the hunting. So,
Now, I know the dogs play an important role in
hmm
bird hunting. Uh,
yeah.
I know when we spoke the other day, you just picked up another dog not too long ago. How's he coming along?
He's doing great. He did his first retrieve less than 6 months old. So we have four dogs. The oldest one, Winston, I adopted him a few years ago. He was a 3-year old started dog. And he he the first year needed some training, but then after that I sent him, and I also had a 1-year old dog, Thor. He's a golden retriever. I sent those two to training after my first year of guiding. um, my parents had another dog at the time, Q2. He died almost 2 summers ago. He was awesome. He's a Vizsla Golden Retriever mix, and he could do anything. He could point, he could flush, he could retrieve. He was just awesome dog. My parents had two of them at the time, and Q2 was the older one, but the younger one ended up dying in his kennel. He got some cord wrapped around his neck and
Oh,
choked
wow.
himself. So Q2 was out there and pretty much showed Winston and Thor the way. But then that next summer, so it would have been like 2021, I took Thor and Winston to a trainer. And now they're super awesome hunting dogs, I must say. I mean, they're my babies, but they're pretty awesome.
Well, I
And then
know it's pretty expensive to train a hunting dog.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, along with just the training, just the upkeep and, you know, I will say mine are spoiled because I do keep them in my house and they are my babies. They are my pets. Um, but yeah, the training does get expensive. Teddy has trained his own dogs. They're coming along. He has, Odin. Both of his are golden retrievers. Odin is almost two, and Bo is almost one. So he has two puppies still. Odin is great. He finds everything, but for some reason, he hasn't picked up a bird yet. He will put his nose on it, and you have to go get it. Um,
They'll
I
let
think
you
what
know where it is.
Yep, he definitely can find them, but he just won't pick them up yet. Um, Bo, like I said, he retrieved at 6 months. And so, the puppy is still in him, and I can't wait till he's a couple years older. But those are our four dogs right now, and all of them are great.
Well, you got to pamper the dogs. They work hard. This morning I went to the gym at 5:30 this morning. I actually tucked my dog into my bed, put the blanket over her. I left and she went back to sleep.
Yep. Okay, I don't let my dogs sleep with me, but they get up on the couch. I take them everywhere I go. Um, yeah, they're my babies that are not humans.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yep.
they're family members.
Yep.
They're not just work dogs.
Yeah.
Now, what type of shotgun do you use? What type of, or do you suggest to use?
Oh. Um, I guess I don't really have an opinion on that. I have a Benelli, um, oh my gosh, and I can't think of what it's called. Actually, my kids just got it coded for me for my birthday. It's
Wow.
white and black camo, and then it has my logo engraved on it. I have a super black eagle. That's what I have. And the reason why I got that, when I was looking, I don't know a lot about guns. That's Teddy's area. But my dad had a super black eagle, and so that's why I got it.
tradition.
Yep. Yep. We have guys that come with guns that they've had forever and ever and ever. We have guys with, guns that are $80,000 that come. It's really their preference. So Teddy's probably, my son is probably the one to answer that more than me.
Admittedly, I have not done a lot of bird hunting. Um, I have a nice Browning 12 gauge that have used,
Mm.
but I'm more of a big game hunter. I've got to get more into bird hunting because I like duck, I like pheasant. I might as well go out and get my own, right?
Yep. Yep. I actually prefer to shoot clays. I mean, I when I hunt, I don't carry a gun. So there's just too much going on. Or when I should say when I guide, I don't
Yeah.
carry a gun. There's too much going on with, controlling the dogs, making sure the hunters aren't shooting each other. Just getting the birds from the dogs, keeping everybody in line. And, the amount of times I have to bend over and grab a bird from the dog, I don't need to worry about where the barrel of my gun is. So,
Yep.
um, the guides at Pheasant Cove, we don't carry guns for that reason. I shouldn't say never. When we have a smaller group and nobody wants to block, I'll go down and block. So I shouldn't say never, but in most of our groups, Teddy and I aren't carrying our guns.
Now, as a guide, I know you come across all kinds of people. You gotta have some amazing stories of people trying to guide the guide, people just doing their own thing. There's
Yeah,
always something.
I would say my favorite one on telling me what to do is an Olympian who came. And he great shot. The first time he ever came, he was on the phone talking out in the field, and a bird got up, shot the bird, and never stopped talking. Like it was just that quick. Um, so excellent shot. And when he first started coming, he was shooting a 410. Um, and then as he was getting older, it switched to a 16 gauge, but awesome, awesome guy. Uh, but yeah, he always knew what to do shooting and everything like that. Um, my one of my favorite stories when I first started guiding, and I was kind of thrown into it after my dad died, but I get this Jim and James. And Jim is the older guy, James is the younger guy. And then there were two other guys with us that have been coming for years. And Jim and James, it was their first year. So most people, when they come, I've shot trap, I've shot skeet. I know what I'm doing, bird hunting, right? Okay. So um, I tell the guys, okay, when we get off the bus or before we get off the bus, okay, everybody have shells. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna be here with me. So James, the younger guy, he's on the line with me. And because there were only four and myself, I think we had two walkers plus me, one flanker, and one guy blocking at the end. So we get maybe a quarter of the way down the field, and James says to me, do you have any more shells? Uh, what do you mean? Do I have any more shells? Well, I put five in my pocket, and four birds is the limit. And so I just thought I would put an extra one in my pocket because I'd be done with my four birds at this time. And this
Wow.
is the very first drive of the first day that they're hunting. And I was like, I don't know what to do. So the other two guys that are close to me, I'm like, hey, do you guys have any shells? Well, they were shooting 20 gauges and he was shooting a 12 gauge. So this kid had to walk the rest of the field because all the shells were down at the other end of the field with the blocker. And so he had to walk the rest of the field. So we get done hunting, and I was like, "What are you, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, I just figured that I, would get done with my 4 birds and be done. Well, sometimes, some days you shoot 6 of whatever the limit is because you're in a group, right? So I just told them from now on, you just put a box of shells in your vest. Make sure there's plenty when you get off the bus. So we finished that day. The next day, we're on the third day. We're in this field that I call the honey hole. We're like on the last drive. We need a few birds to get our limit. And so we are maybe halfway down the field. There's birds everywhere. And, guys are great shots until they're not.
Yep.
And we get halfway down the field, and James says to me, uh, Robin, I'm out of shells. Why are you out of shells? And I don't actually remember his excuse that time. He's like, well, I just figured we'd have our limit by now and we'd be done. So I told them to stand in place. I ran down to the end of the field, grabbed shells for him, ran back, got him shells, and we finished the rest of the drive so they could limit out and we were done. But that was definitely a great lesson for me. Like, hey guys, just put a full box in your pockets. Like we will see birds, and you know we do 4 bird limit a day, because we have the preserve. We can go over the state 3 bird limit.
Yeah.
And so, like, if we shoot, let's say 4 guys, 16 birds, let's say we shoot 20 birds, and we're on the preserve, it's not a big deal to me. Just make sure you have enough shells. So that is one lesson I've definitely learned, um, with hunting. But yeah,
Because,
it's amazing.
one shot, one kill, right?
Yeah, except
That
for
that
that.
happens with birds all the time, right?
No, no, it does not. No, it does not. Actually, I've had to tell groups because they'll like unload their gun at one bird and it's not even close to them. They just unload and then a bird gets up in front of them and they don't have any shells in their gun. So they can't even shoot at the one that's right there. So I try to tell them, like, try not to unload if the bird is 300 yards away. That's not going to work for you.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just, you never know what you're going to get, but great things do come up. We have one group, he's been coming forever, and it's 3 brothers. And then it's their sons and then friends of theirs. It's our biggest group. I think they bring 20 guys.
Wow.
And so this last year they were having a great time getting their birds. I think one day their total number of birds, because you can buy extra birds also. So like if you want your limit to be more than 4, like these guys do 5 birds a day for each one of them. Okay. So I think they ended up with a day's limit of 101 birds.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was pretty awesome. But then, it's like, okay, now what are we going to do? And so I came up with this game. We have 2 small fields that run, side by side, kind of with an empty bean field, a harvested bean field in the middle. So I said, how about let's have a competition? And so we split up the teams, and I was just going to do it nice, here, pick a color, and this is what team you're on. Well, no, the brothers are like, no, we're picking teams because we want some people to be last and we want them to make them feel like crap because they're always harassing each other, right?
That's all
So,
part of it.
yep. Yep. So we end up picking teams. Whoever won the coin toss got to pick the guide to do which one they wanted. And come to find out afterwards that so we released 20 birds into each of these fields. And when we release birds, we don't shake them or spin them or do any of that. When we either take the cage out into the field and dump it out at 4:30 in the morning and hope they stay there, or like if we have a lot of birds to release, we'll just kind of take them up. And this is towards the end of the season when the preserve is saturated, right? We
Yeah.
just like just as the sun's coming up, we open the cages and let them walk out and fly away. But that day we're putting 20 birds in each one of these fields. So Teddy, I was driving the truck. Teddy was getting in the crates and releasing them. So the first field he releases them. The second field, the first box he put out, he they all flew away. And he's like, I did not know this till after the hunt. He says, well, if I get this field, we're not going to have any birds in here. So he did, without me knowing, shake the birds and planted them in the field. Well, I knew that we call it the equipment field. I knew that one didn't hold birds this year. So when we won the toss, I picked the other field, knowing that this last season it just was a better field. Um, and so we did it, or we hunted it, and we end up winning with 8 birds, and they got 6. But I didn't know that Teddy planted all these birds in there when it was done. But these guys had such a great time. And just you can do fun things like that with bigger groups. And
Any
yeah,
type of competition,
it was
guys
great.
are always in.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm pretty sure we're going to have to do it again this year when they come back. I'll figure something out.
So let me ask you about the lodge. Your family built this lodge.
Yep. So my dad's dad, my grandpa and my uncle, they were builders. Well, I mean, they did farming, but they were builders most of my life. And so when they just got a wild hair, they're like, hey, how about let's do a lodge here and let's just build it. So they did all the work. It started off, like I said, this old gas station service station. And so the main lodge at the time, like the kitchen was probably, I mean, it barely fit a refrigerator and a stove in it. It barely had a countertop to it. And my mom did pretty much all the cooking, with the exception of breakfast, because at this time when they started, my mom was also the postmaster in Mobridge, which is the town that's 6 miles away from us. Um, so she had a full-time job. But they built the lodge. There were 4 rooms, and that's all they used because mom and dad were staying in the 5th room. I grew up in Mobridge, and so they ended up moving into the lodge at one point, and they stayed in the 5th room. And so then the main area was the dining room, the lounge room. There were 2 bathrooms. One bathroom had one shower in it, and the other bathroom had 2 showers in it. So that was how the lodge started. And then I think it was 2003. It was That's when my grandpa passed away. The lodge, or the addition, which we call the bar room, and you can see this on our website. There's pictures of it. They built a bar with 2 more bathrooms and a big lounge area. There's a gun cleaning station in there, fireplace.
Wow.
And it's just a great area for the guys to hang out. If they want to do cards, just sit at the bar and drink, tell stories. There's 3 different TVs in there, so we can pretty much get any game that is on. I've actually had a group of guys who have paid to get here, paid to hunt, that we had to be hunting on a Saturday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because they had a Georgia Bulldogs game to watch. Yeah. So,
Priorities.
yep. Yep. So there's a nice patio, like area outside. There's a deck outside. So, like this last year, the weather was just amazing, and we probably spent more evenings outside than we did in the lodge.
What about processing the birds? Like if I'm bird hunting, I'll just breast them and leave the rest to the coyotes or whatever. But do you have like a plucker or do you process the birds?
Well, so thankfully, I do not have to do that. Again, this Glenham is a small town of 100 people. And when my dad started doing this, he didn't want to clean all the birds. So he asked, and he's a distant cousin, maybe a second cousin to my dad. He asked this guy, Frank, if he would clean the birds for him. And I think he was giving him $1 a bird at the time, 30 years ago. That was decent money.
Sure.
And so Frank and his family have done the birds for the last 30 years, but it started off as just doing the birds, and then it built a business for Frank also. He now owns his own butcher shop, along with, like, he does deer, antelope. I think if you would get one, but I don't know if that gets brought there very often. But I just take the birds down to Frank. He's a block away from where the lodge is. He breasts them out. He vacuum packs them, and with the preserve, you have to keep tags in the bag, so
Yep.
uh, for transporting them. So he does all of that. I just go down into the freezer when the guys leave and grab them their birds and send them on their way.
Oh, that's nice.
Yep.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, you might see some pheasant recipes in an upcoming issue of the magazine.
Hey, my mom has a great one, so if you need one, I know where to get one.
All right. Awesome. All right. So where can we find you guys?
So we're located in Glenham, South Dakota. It's north central South Dakota. We're 100 miles south of Bismarck, 100 miles west of Aberdeen, and 100 miles north of Pierre. Um, all of those places you can fly into. Bismarck has the best selection of flights. They have United, Delta, American, Frontier. You can also, if you fly your own plane, you can fly into Mobridge, which is 6 miles away.
Hmm.
And then it takes about from Bismarck 2 hours to get down, an hour and a half from Pierre, Aberdeen. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, North Central, right on the Missouri River. We hunt a lot of our land right along the Missouri, so beautiful pictures and things like that.
Well, I just sold my plane, so I'm gonna have to, fly commercial now.
Yeah. If you take 1804 down from Bismarck, you'll drive along the river. So those views are really nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. And your website is pheasantcove.com.
Yes, website is pheasantcove.com. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's Pheasant Cove Outfitters. One thing I would like to say before we go is that we are all inclusive. A lot of people don't quite grasp that when it is first brought up, but we provide the guides and dogs. We provide the lodging, the food, 3 meals a day, snacks, beverages, adult beverages. Um, we provide the shells, uh, the processing, a cooler, like a soft-sided cooler. So if you want to transport them, a lot of guys just put the birds in the cooler and throw them on the plane. Um, yeah, so the shells we provide are 12 and 20 gauge. If you shoot something else, you'll have to bring your own.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, really, truly, we provide guns if you need one. The only thing you need to really show up with is clothes, depending on what weather is coming. And then we will help you purchase your license once you get there. You can do it on your own before you get there, but a lot of the guys just hand me their credit card and let me do it.
Okay. Nice and easy.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Well, definitely go to pheasantcove.com, book your next hunt, and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you.